Hey, Annie Gauss,
Hey, Tom, how are you?
you want to do a show?
Sure.
Since
I'm
it
already
happened,
here, so we
since we just happened to have you on a hangout here.
yeah, absolutely.
All right, let me make sure I'm recording. I'm recording. We're streaming. Yay! All right, here we go.
Yay.
The Daily Tech News Show with Tom Merritt is powered by Patreons like you. From 5 cents to $50, every contribution helps Tom and company produce fresh episodes of essential tech news. To learn more and support the show, visit patreon.com/acedetect. Thanks for listening.
This is the Daily Tech News for Tuesday, July 15th, 2014. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, journalist Annie Gauss. How's it going, Annie?
Good, how are you?
Thank you for joining me. How is your cornea?
My cornea is completely healed by now. It healed a lot quicker than I expected, but I hope that never happens to me again.
That was ridiculous. We had scheduled Annie. You probably heard me promote that she was going to be on the show, and then the weirdest accident happened, and I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm glad it's all better now.
Yes, it's probably for the best that I didn't appear on the show that time because I would have been wearing a giant eye patch and it would have been very
Oh
off-putting.
no!
To
Now I
viewers.
wish you had.
It wasn't a very. It wasn't a stylish eye patch. It was a
Okay,
pretty
fine.
unsightly.
Then maybe you're right. We are going to talk about the internet sensation that's burning up the subreddits, the famous Comcast call with Veronica Belmont and Ryan Block. But first, let's get to the headlines. GigaOM reports Google's Chris Evans announced Project Zero today, a team of security pros hired by Google to look for vulnerabilities in non-Google software. Any software depended on by a lot of people is fair game, according to the blog post. Ben Hawks, Tavis Ormandy, and Britt Ian, those names are probably familiar to some of you out there, are apparently on the team, as is George Hotz. GeoHotz is the first intern, but they're also hiring. So if you'd like to get in there and hunt for bugs and hack around, by all means, take a look at google.com. Bloomberg reports Microsoft is planning its biggest round of layoffs in 5 years as part of the integration of Nokia's handset division. This is not a surprise if you listened closely or read closely Satya Nadella's memo. Bloomberg sources say the reductions will probably be in engineering, marketing, and areas of overlap with Nokia. Makes sense. Microsoft's biggest round of job cuts ever happened in 2009 when they let 5,800 people go. The Verge reports Microsoft is beginning to distribute Windows Phone 8.1 to your Lumia devices out there. 8.1 includes Cortana, the digital assistant, new customizable live tile layouts, a new keyboard, and a bunch of other cool features. The Next Web reports Samsung, Google, and ARM have teamed up to develop an Internet of Things wireless networking protocol called Thread. If it sounds like maybe you heard this story earlier this week, that's because the other day, Samsung and Intel were among several companies proposing the Open Interconnect Consortium as a new standard for the Internet of Things. Thread, however, isn't an application protocol or a connectivity platform. It's a networking protocol that has been built upon open standards. A current version of Thread is available in use already by Nest thermostats. The Next Web reports Apple has announced a new service in Japan that lets customers add cash to their iTunes account in the store. Apple Bank, anybody? Here's how it works. iTunes Pass is what it's called. Lets you purchase credit in store for the iTunes Store app or the App Store or the iBook Store. Have that money immediately applied to your Apple ID account instead of needing to receive a gift card and then go through the process of entering a redemption code. So, Annie, that makes sense. You just say, I want to add money to my account. Here's the money. And then they do it in the store.
Yeah, I also noticed that on the Japanese website, one of their selling points for this is that it'll allow you to kind of control what your kids are doing. So you can kind of give them a sort of an iTunes allowance if you have children, so they can't go buck wild with your, your iTunes account.
Right, and that's a whole lot easier than saying, okay, I need to buy this card, and now I have to go through the dance of taking the card number and scratching it off and then putting it in. Just like put the money right into my account. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, now we know why Babak Parviz left Google for Amazon yesterday. His work on Google Smart Contacts must have been done. And Gadget is reporting Google has licensed its smart eyewear to healthcare specialist Novartis, which will develop new products based on it. The first of two new products will be lenses that measure glucose levels in tear clear fluid to help diabetics. We'd heard about that one before. And the second will restore focus on near objects so far-sighted people can have contacts. And I don't have to put these things on anymore when I need to read something.
Considering my recent cornea situation, this makes me a little bit nervous.
Putting something up in your eye that can move around with electronics. Yeah, I could see that. Google will develop the electronics part of this, and Novartis's Alcon will supply the medical knowledge. But so these are going to be real. I think a lot of people, when they saw the demo earlier this year, thought, yeah, we'll believe that when it comes to the market.
Yeah, and it does sound like this is many years away from being anything near a consumer product, because as was pointed out in a lot of the articles about this story, that the medical science is a little bit behind on this, and the connection between, the correlation between tears and actual blood glucose levels hasn't been as well established as they would probably like. So we'll probably a few years away.
Yeah. However, Novartis must feel confident that they can overcome that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would think.
Yeah.
Ars Technica reports the US FCC extended the deadline for submitting comments on its open internet guidelines. You now have until Friday, July 18th at midnight. The FCC website suffered under the strain of last-minute commenters, prompting the extension. People can also get their views into the official record by emailing openinternet@fcc.gov. At the same time, TechCrunch reports 13 senators sent a letter to FCC Chairman Tom Wheeler requesting that internet service be classified as a common carrier under Title II of the Telecommunications Act.
Yeah, and if you go on and read the FCC website and read a lot of the comments, it's it's pretty entertaining. I mean, it's exactly what you would expect from pretty much. It's mostly things that we can't probably repeat on the show, but it sounds like they're on track to surpass the number of comments that were posted from the other FCC fiascos in the past. For example, the nip slip situation from the Janet Jackson Super Bowl thing. So obviously this is an issue that people are super passionate about.
Yeah, people are much more web connected than they were back in the wardrobe malfunction days. So that doesn't surprise me. Although this is much less. I'm trying to pick the right word, and they're all wrong. Titillating, all of that sort of thing. Just obvious joke. But yeah, I think it's smart of the FCC to extend the deadline, and also to make that email address more apparent to people. It was already there, but they're saying, hey, there's lots of ways to get your feedback in. As far as Title II, we'll see what the FCC does in response to that. And we'll definitely see what the telecommunications industry does in response to that. The TIA has already said, no, do not do that. So there's people on all sides of this. Reuters reports Japanese messaging app Line intends to go it alone rather than look to get acquired. Reuters sources say Line applied for an initial public offering valued at over 1 trillion yen. It's about 9.85 billion US. That was around 2 weeks ago, and they want to do their IPO at the Tokyo Stock Exchange. The company recorded 14.6 billion yen in revenue in January-March quarter, a more than threefold increase on the year, and the app has been downloaded more than 480 million times.
It's really interesting in light of the WhatsApp, what happened with WhatsApp, to see that this company is seeking an IPO, as opposed to getting acquired. Because having used it, it is really a very different product, although they're often lumped together.
Yeah,
in terms of messaging services.
And it's interesting to see everybody else except for Snapchat going for the big money. WhatsApp even saying, sure, Facebook will take the big money. And there were lots of rumors of people acquiring Line here. Microsoft's team showed off a new deep learning AI this morning in Redmond called Project Adam. Rather than trying to have a better algorithm than other efforts, there's efforts out there seriously that called Google Brain, for instance. Project Adam optimizes data handling and fine-tunes communication between machines. The system is based on technology developed at the University of Wisconsin called HogWild, that's meant for asynchronous processing across chips within a single machine. Microsoft's Trishul Chilimbi and team have made it work across an entire network of machines. So far, it has only been deployed through an internal app that recognizes objects based on a photo, but it can identify like specific breeds of dog based on a photo. Like not just a Corgi, but a Pembroke Corgi particularly is the example they give. Microsoft is still developing the research and has no consumer plans for the system yet, but they claim it uses 30 times fewer machines with double the accuracy of other deep learning systems. This is going to be the stuff behind, this is the stuff already behind Google now, and the stuff behind Microsoft's Cortana in the future.
Yeah, this definitely seems like the next.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna point out that this reminded me a lot of the DeepFace story from Facebook from a couple months back, where they were also using image recognition as their main benchmark for their AI stuff.
Right. The Next Web reports Mozilla announced the release of Moz JPEG version 2.0, a JPEG encoder capable of reducing the size of both baseline and progressive JPEG images by 5%. Images make up a lot of the bandwidth used by web pages. Individual images themselves don't take up as much as video, but you have lots of images per page. Pages get refreshed quite often. So Facebook has an interest in this. In fact, Facebook is testing Moz JPEG 2.0 on Facebook.com and gave Mozilla $60,000 to help develop the technology. Recode reports Intel benefited from an improved PC market to beat analyst estimates in its quarterly earnings. Intel reported earnings of $2.8 billion or 55 cents a share on sales of $13.8 billion for the 3 months ending in June. Desktop chip unit sales were up 8% from a year ago, and average selling price increased 2% as well. Notebook processor unit sales increased 9%. Intel's mobile unit posted revenue of $51 million. That's down 83% year on year and off 67% from the first quarter. So a temporary upsurge in PC is helping cover their continuing problems on mobile. TechCrunch reports Yahoo reported Q2 revenue of $1.04 billion and non-GAAP earnings per share of 37 cents. Revenue, including TAC, was $1.08. Analysts had expected the company to earn 38 cents on revenue of ex-tax $1.08 billion. Yahoo sold 24% more ads in the quarter than the year prior, which was strong, but its price per ad fell by 24%. I think people were looking at this thinking this will tell us Marissa Mayer how she's doing, and it ended up being sort of like, well, it's good and bad news. They're still just kind of floating along there.
Yeah. Poor Yahoo.
Time for some news from you. Norm Gregory and TM204 both submitted articles from Ars Technica and Hollywood Reporter about Dish's victory over Fox in the Hopper lawsuit. Fox had asked for a preliminary injunction and pointed to the Supreme Court's determination that Aereo was a public performance, claiming Dish's Slingbox-like service in the Dish Hopper was the same thing. On Monday, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that a district court didn't abuse discretion by denying Fox's motion for a preliminary injunction. Remember, that's just Fox losing on saying, we need Dish to stop selling the Hopper now until the court case is done. The court said, we don't buy that this is that harmful to you, so we're going to let them keep doing it, and we'll determine the legality at trial. Doesn't say that the Hopper is legal yet. The underlying case, Fox versus Dish, will continue to move forward to a trial for federal court in Los Angeles that currently is set for January 13th, 2015. Habituela Condolce posted the Mashable article on leaked Windows screenshots appearing on mydigitallife.info showing the restored start menus. The size and format of the menu is the same as what Microsoft showed off at the Build conference in April, but the tiles themselves are different. The watermark on the images reads Windows 8.1 Pro and confidential. However, the forum where the screenshot appeared says the shots are from a build 6.4.9788 of Windows 9. But just putting the start menu out there on the internet apparently gets people really excited. Mixon ETH submitted the GeekWire story that transportation startups like UberX, Lyft, and Sidecar will finally be able to legally operate in Seattle. The city council there voted 8-1 to approve a new law providing a regulatory framework for transportation network companies. That's a new buzzword to get ready for, folks, TNCs. The 150 vehicle cap in Seattle has been removed, insurance requirements have been adjusted, and 200 taxi licenses are going to be added over the next 4 years as sort of a SOP, a perk for the incumbent taxi drivers there. Annie, you were actually at the San Francisco hearing about these sorts of services recently, right?
I was. It was last Thursday, and it was the public hearing. For people to, provide insight on this whole battle that was going on, and it was a very, very interesting hearing to attend because there's so much emotion wrapped up in this issue. It was quite a circus, actually, and unsurprisingly, perhaps, there were representatives from the transportation network companies were completely outnumbered the cab drivers. And it was a very interesting thing to witness. Obviously, this is in New York, for example, they're much more resistant to companies like Lyft and Uber than they are here. But it was kind of an interesting illustration of the forces that are involved in this discussion.
So, was the San Francisco City Council relatively friendly? It seems to depend on where you go, whether the incumbent governments are open to listening to things or not. It seems like San Francisco has historically been pretty open to this sort of thing.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the conversation is around insurance regulations for TNCs, and there's this concept being discussed of off and on insurance. So taxi cabs, for example, are required to have 24/7 insurance, but
Sure.
there's this idea of can you implement off and on insurance where you're only paying for commercial insurance, that is, when your app is on, and there are some obvious sort of issues that would arise with that, like what if you leave your app open over to the side, and there are kind of all kinds of loopholes that you can imagine being occurring out of the regulation like that. But that's kind of the core issue. But then, you also, for example, there was a funny moment when a taxi cab driver got up to speak, and he was reading aloud from a misconnections ad. That was a Lyft driver who was kind of hitting on a passenger, and he used that to illustrate an example of what he saw as a lack of professionalism in that industry. It was kind of a funny moment, and who knows where the ad is still up. You can look at it yourself if you search Lyft.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
It is an interesting ongoing fight that, as we saw in Seattle, it seems to be that the Ubers and the Lyfts of the world tend to end up winning, but it's a lot harder in some places than it is in others.
Yeah.
Real quickly, just breaking now, Recode had an interview at Apple headquarters in Cupertino, and CNBC reporting this as well. Apple and IBM announced a partnership today, putting IBM made-for-business apps on iOS devices. IBM said it would create a class of more than 100 business applications exclusively for iPhones and iPads to run on the Apple iOS platform. In return, IBM is going to sell Apple products. You heard that right. IBM is going to sell Apple products. They will be filled with 100 industry-specific apps for clients worldwide. Some of the services IBM will provide by iOS include device management, security, analytics, mobile integration. Those apps will be available this fall and include IBM Cloud services, as well as a new Apple Care service specifically for business clients. So this is unprecedented on both sides. On the one side, IBM tying up with Apple on anything is historic. On the other side, Apple saying we're going to let another company implement an entire side of the business. Apple wants to be in the enterprise, but I guess they made the decision we don't want to start an enterprise level business, so let's just let IBM do it.
Yeah.
Our plug of the day, Daily Tech News Show shirts with Mustafa from thepolarcat.com's logo on them. If you would like a shirt, they're available in white, black, and ash. Go to slashloot.com. They look nice. I've seen them in the wild now on people, although I still need to order one myself. SLASHLOOT.com. And then go to the podcast section, look for Daily Tech News Show, and you can pick one up there. And we thank Mustafa for creating the logo, and we thank Slashloot for carrying the shirts. All right, SDC 111 submitted the topic to subreddit of Veronica Belmont and Ryan Block's call to Comcast. Here's what happened. Now, we have a recording of part of this call, but not all of it. Veronica called Comcast to cancel service as part of a move. She had already signed up for another provider called Astound, had that in the new place, was living in the new place, and was calling Comcast to say, I need to cancel service in the old residence. The customer retention agent made the usual attempt at customer retention. And Veronica says, I told him unequivocally that we would not be keeping the service, and I didn't want to get into a back and forth with him. They spent 10 minutes on the phone trying to get canceled. We don't know what was said in those 10 minutes by anybody. Then she gave the phone to her husband, Ryan Block, who works for AOL, who then recorded the last 8 minutes of the call. The rep wanted them so badly to explain why they wouldn't want to keep Comcast when it was so much better than Astound. And that has gone viral, Annie. Like it's all over the
Yeah.
internet. Some people saying that, Ryan wasn't being very good as a customer. Like he should have given a better reason. In fact, our own listener Ryan wrote in and said if he'd even given a lie and stuck to it, he'd have been done sooner. Other people saying that this Comcast guy was over the top.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Comcast was over the top. It's who knows what goes on in the kind of the back end of their customer service system, but clearly he must be under some kind of pressure to provide that answer, otherwise it'll reflect poorly on his performance. So it's hard not to have a little bit of sympathy for him, but at the same time, he obviously didn't handle it as gracefully as he could have.
Graceful would not be the word I would use.
Yeah.
No. And Comcast has not backed him up. Comcast says the way in which our representative communicated with them is unacceptable and not consistent with how we train our customer service representatives. However, okay, that's what Comcast needs to say in this instance, right? Because there's outrage on the internet. They have obviously, I'm not tending to believe that this guy is an anomaly. Maybe he's an anomaly in how long he kept going at this. But I've heard tell other tales, and I've actually experienced people being this pushy with me before. There must be some kind of environment there that encourages you to not lose a customer at all. And maybe this guy had a perfect record or something. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I was kind of looking around the internet today for anecdotes about people who have worked in Comcast customer service, and I came across a consumerist article that, granted, it was from 3 years ago or so, but it was pointing out all these guidelines that are in place for those reps, and some of them being sort of suggested complete call time. So for and on average, Comcast expects, this is from the consumerist article, expects the rep to finish a video call between 7.5 minutes, and so there are all these kind of parameters for how long those calls are expected to last. So, you figure if he has a 3-minute call where the customer cancels their service, that will reflect badly on him. So it's easy to imagine what kind of environment that must be to work in, and how that kind of reflects on the company as a whole.
And I think there's an out to be had if someone says, for instance, I have an example where I called and Comcast was trying to upsell me to television in addition to my internet, which I had when I lived up in Marin County. And I said, I just really don't want it. I have DirecTV. He's like, well, why are you keeping DirecTV? And I sort of paused. He said, is it for the NFL? And I'm like, yeah, even though that wasn't really why. He's like, yeah, hard to argue with. I swear, all he needed to do was check that box. Like, guy said it was NFL, and he's off the hook, right? There's something like that where they need to have that reason why they were not able to retain the customer. And maybe that was what was going on here. But this brings up a larger question to me. Why do you think these ISPs and mobile carriers are just as hard on this sort of thing? Why do you think they are so hard on people who want to cancel the service when they have almost, in this case, a monopoly over it? Is it because they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that you would go anywhere else? Like, we're not used to having choices. Yeah,
I mean, I think it's part of probably just a larger culture of being extremely pushy with the customer. I mean, they've probably had a lot of success in part by kind of, I don't want to say it, tricking people is kind of a strong way to say it, but between all of those offers you get, like free HBO for however long, and in the fine print it's all kinds of ways to kind of get money out of you. They probably have had a large degree of success from using those kinds of tactics with the customer, and I would expect that's just kind of an extension of that.
I personally, and I understand, I absolutely understand the position that the customer service rep is in being pressured to do this. I've worked in call centers before, and it's why I don't ever want to work in a call center again. And I actually do understand why Comcast wants to retain people. They want to find out, well, what can we do better? But these kind of high pressure tactics are encouraged. Whether you think this guy is understandable or over the top, I don't want that as a customer. I don't want a high pressure tactic, and I will hold that against a company. In fact, my wife holds it against Sprint to this day because of that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I know right now I'm dealing with nightly phone calls from Comcast trying to upsell me, as you mentioned, you experienced to the cable. I don't have cable through them, and I've repeatedly asked them to stop calling me, and they haven't. That's kind of a minor bugaboo compared to what some people go through, but still,
Sure.
it's another illustration.
Do you think it would actually be different if there was more competition in the U.S., that they'd be more worried about that lingering bad taste?
Absolutely, absolutely, because people had more choice. You know, in some areas of the country, they have less choice than we do here, or I do in San Francisco. Absolutely, because then you foster a culture of competition where you do have to take those things into account, and how you treat the customer, and what a pleasant experience it is to deal with a company. In addition to the advantages, of using one ISP over another.
Yeah, I tend to think so. It seems to make a reverse sort of sense. Like, well, if you're a monopoly, why would you care? Just let them cancel. Where are they going to go, right?
Yeah.
But it seems like because it's so unfathomable that someone would want to go anywhere else, that maybe it's easier to convince people to stay in that case by saying like, oh, well, we'll just cut. Is it money? If all it is money, we can give you an option. We can cut it down. So it is an interesting position that these companies are in, and it definitely makes me hesitate on whether Comcast and Time Warner Cable combining would make customer service any better. That's one of Comcast's arguments, is we will have better customer service when we have a larger system to work with.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me just based on my intuition, but
Yeah.
But okay.
Yeah, and Metal Freak in the chat room says, I think they'd fight harder if they had more competition, but they might fight different. They might fight harder at actually providing you a product that you wouldn't want to cancel in the first place, versus fighting hard to stop you from leaving because they pissed you off so much, which is why a lot of people end up leaving in these situations.
Yeah.
All right, let's look at the calendar real quick. Tomorrow, July 16th, T-Mobile brings the LG G3 to the U.S. on July 16th. $599 up front. Also tomorrow, eBay reports its Q2 earnings. Our pick of the day comes from Dan White in mostly rainy Bristol, UK. He says, I've been following the comments about Facebook and the annoying way they mess with your news feed, changing the order and stuff, unwanted junk put in there to annoy you. I'd like to recommend a free browser plugin called Facebook Purity, or FB Purity. I like to think of it as what Facebook would look like if they didn't hate their users. Those are his words. It's compatible with Firefox, Chrome, Safari, Opera, and Maxdon. It has an awesome collection of features, including force news feed into chronological order, block inline video playback, hide or block posts based on keywords or phrases, revert news feed to single column, stop external links from being tracked by Facebook, block applications directly from your news feed, receive an alert if someone defriends you, and lots more. Naturally, Facebook hates this idea and regularly tweaks their code to overcome some of the features, even claiming that the plugin is unsafe. However, the plugin is inevitably updated almost immediately to restore sanity to your purchase. I don't work for or have any connection with FB Purity coders. I just think it's an awesome plugin, and apparently about 160,000 other people agree with me. Now, I haven't vetted this plugin, so buyer beware. Plugins can have malicious code. I'm not saying FB Purity does. I'm just saying that I can't sign off on it. But if you trust Dan, and he's well known in the chat realm world, so I feel like it might be worth at least investigating. You might want to check out FB Purity, because it sounds like it does exactly what a lot of people want out of Facebook.
Yes, thank you, Dan, actually, for passing that along, because I was just thinking that to myself the other day, that I wish there was some way I could assemble it in chronological order. It's pretty annoying.
Absolutely. Send your picks to feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com, and you can find my picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. Got a couple of messages of the day before we go. Andy from partly cloudy Michigan said, hey, Tom, here's an anecdotal story about how a little competition improves stuff in our area. Ties loosely into the Comcast conversation, actually. For a long time, the only internet provider in our area was Charter Cable. As cable companies go, they're pretty good. Talking to customer service was better than getting broken glass in the eyes. Speeds were semi-decent at 30 megabits per second, and the price for internet by itself only cost an arm, not a leg. About a month ago, I got my monthly broadband speed report and noticed that halfway through the month, our speed doubled to 60 megabits per second, but the bill amount stayed the same. I thought it was cool and just figured they'd upgraded something on the back end and pushed it out to everyone. I didn't really think about it after that until a week later, when a sales rep from AT&T came knocking at the door explaining they had just set up 48 megabit per second U-verse fiber around us and were hoping to sign us up. The time frame for them offering service and our internet speed increase was in the same week. What a coincidence.
Wow.
And he has a pick of the day suggested he threw in called samknows.com. It's a broadband measurement service which monitors your internet connection stats. That's how he was able to find out that his broadband went up there. So cool, 2-for-1 there from Andy. Thank you.
Great.
And real quickly, an extra message from TV's Egon, who posted in our subreddit, dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com, a ton of picks from Nerdtacular into a Dropbox, and he shared the link out with everybody on the subreddit. So go to dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com to find that link, or you can find it in our show notes as well at dailytechnewsshow.com. It was a lot of fun, and thank TV's Egon's a good photographer as well. He took some amazing shots. Jenny Josephson, our producer, is using one of those as her avatar now. It's a cool shot. I love seeing that. Well, thank you, Annie Gauss. Time flew. I can't believe we're actually even running a little longer than usual. This was awesome.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It was really fun.
Twitter.com/Annie Gauss, ANNIEGAUS. Anything else going on you want to let folks tell folks about, mention, plug?
For now, probably just my Twitter and my Facebook, which is at facebook.com/Annie Gauss. You can find me there. Yeah.
Thank you, Annie Gauss. Twitter.com/Annie Gauss. Also, 4,141 patrons. I want to thank you for keeping the show going. You are what makes the show possible. I'm glad that you find value in the show and are willing to give a little value back. Patreon.com/AceDetect to find out more about that. Or if you're like, I don't know how to spell Ace Detect, I don't blame you. It's bit.ly/helpdtns as well. Don't forget, you can have a voice in what stories we cover at our subreddit, dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. You can email us, feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Give us a call, leave us a voicemail, 512-59-DAILY. That's 512-593-2459. And listen to the show live at mobile.alphageekradio.com and visit our website, dailytechnewsshow.com. We'll be back tomorrow with more news. See you then.
This podcast is part of the Frog Pants Studios Network. For more information about this and other shows, visit frogpants.com. Audio programs so good, it's like you're there.
Stupid Google Hangout. So I'm always I'm hovering over you, Jenny, like ready to go, and then as soon as it gets to the end of the Frog Pets thing, it goes, "Oh, you've been hovering too long," and it goes away.
No
I
worries.
keep trying to time it. All right. That was great, Annie. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. That was fun.
Well, we usually just kind of sit around and chat live while I edit the show, but you don't have to stick around if you got things to do. Go anytime you need.
All right. I wanted to ask, what do you suggest if I wanted to, tweet out a download link, or what do you normally do to?
For afterwards,
yeah.
dailytechnewsshow.com is the generic link, and I will have the individual post for the episode up in like 10 minutes.
Awesome.
And also, if you check your mentions on Twitter, you can see the YouTube link, the direct YouTube link right now.
Cool.
Okay, perfect.
You're in there.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you,
Sure,
Tom.
it was so nice to meet you.
Yeah, it was nice to meet you too. Again, sorry about my low budget setup here, but
That worked out fine.
yeah. All right. So I'll tweet that stuff out, and thanks, guys, again.
Thanks, Annie.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. I forgot to turn the air conditioning on.
Oh, man. That's brutal. It's been so humid here, I can't even... I'm just not accustomed to it.
I never do this.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna.
The jacket is coming off.
That bad.
Wow.
I'm rolling up my shirt sleeves and going to work
Uh-oh.
on the levelator. All right.
Well,
Titles.
we got a lot of titles.
Okay, good.
I shall go in reverse order.
Oh, do we have the thing, the Showbot thing?
Yeah, it's so awesome.
cool.
Do you want the link?
Yeah, I just saw it in the chat.
Okay.
Okay,
So
go ahead.
I'm going to start with things that have one vote or more. I don't understand this. Did I miss this? Why 2014 won't be like 2014?
Okay, the vague part of me thinks that's a reference to a Comcast
Right.
or a Microsoft ad.
Right. I just couldn't catch the reference.
Maybe it's a
So that has
Microsoft ad.
1 vote. My personal elegant favorite is lowercase I, capital BM. So
That is elegant,
that's
Tinenbeck.
elegant, but
Yeah.
it only has 2 votes. We have Microsoft goes hog wild. We have
Except it's not. Well, I guess, yeah.
No,
No, you're
I
right.
know.
It is.
Yeah.
It
we have the Blockmont tapes.
is. Yeah, of course.
We have breaking up with Comcast.
Oh, it's hard to do, really.
Jackie Hearn had well, right. That was Jackie Hearn's title, which is breaking up with Comcast is hard to do.
Literally.
Literally. This is CS803 I love, which is the Comcast Inquisition, and I might add nobody expects the Comcast Inquisition because nobody does. And then we have Blocked, but really the number one with 7 votes
No.
is yeah,
Go ahead.
the Belmont tapes.
We can't call it the Belmont tapes. That's the
know.
name of the Night Attack thing.
I know, but it is the smartest title. So we have no whatchamacallit,
We have no what?
shortage. We have no shortage.
No
of
shortage,
titles.
yes. Do you like the Belmont tapes the best, really?
Well, in terms of a clever reference that most of your chat room audience knows about, but it's incorrect in one critical way, which is there's no Veronica on the tape.
See, my problem with it is if you don't understand, then you just
Yeah,
think,
it means
oh, okay, it's
meaningless.
because it's
Yeah.
Veronica Belmont. And if you
And
do
that's
understand, you're
why-
like, but those aren't the Belmont tapes.
Yeah. That's why my very favorite is the simplest one, which is lowercase
The
I.
IBM.
Yeah. I mean, that's just like classic.
That is
Now, there
really
were some
smart.
others. Yeah. There were some others which I'll just rattle out, which is Do You Even Lift, Comcast Blocks Block, iBucks, Bug Hunters, and IBM's Apples.
Do You Even Lift is hilarious. Do You
Yeah.
Even Lift?
Yeah.
My only problem with IBM is it's such a small part of the show, but it's so good.
I know. And also, wouldn't you suggest that it is actually the biggest news of the day?
I can't tell yet.
Right.
See, I have what are the 5, is it 5 steps that you go through of grieving?
Yeah.
I have 5 steps of breaking news before I actually have seen the reaction, where my first step is always like, it's not that big a deal. Like, because I want that barrier to be really high for it to get over. And the thing that gets it over that for me is, oh, it's Apple and IBM. But the fact that it's enterprise level, I think people are going to overreact to it. But yeah, you're probably right, though. It probably is.
I mean,
the
it's
biggest news of the day.
isn't it the first time that Apple has made such a big partnership with a major software company? Not just an acquisition,
Microsoft Office for OS 10 or OS 8
right?
would have been, was it even OS 8?
The
It would have
last
been
big
earlier.
one.
Microsoft Office for Apple, for Mac. That was arguably bigger than this.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were definitely at loggerheads.
Right.
Apple letting HP make a version of the iPod and sell it was as a smaller version of this, like big enterprise company, but also consumer electronics company, kind of a competitor, not going to make their own MP3 player. Like there's echoes of the same thing.
Yeah. I just think it's so interesting because IBM has such a what's the best way to put it? A specific remaining use case. And it's so business centric, and I don't know. I think to me I'm just looking through all the other headlines, and I'm trying to think. Can I think of something that's bigger?
Well, the Comcast thing is the SEO title, right? Because everybody's looking at that.
Yeah.
And that's why breaking up with Comcast is probably
Yeah.
the best one of those.
Yeah. I would agree.
I'm overthinking it now.
The retention detention.
Look, if we're going for something that's going to make people look at the title and go, "Oh, I know what that's
It
about,"
just
and I
has
want
to
to
have
listen,
Comcast in it.
it's the breaking up with Comcast.
Yeah.
If we're going for clever, it's IBM.
Yeah.
With the little I. All right, I'm going with IBM, just cause.
All right. Now, the other question is, who wants to be on the show tomorrow?
Yeah. Well, don't say
Oh,
the
boy.
chat. The entire chat room will now raise their hands.
I know. The Comcast Inquisition. That's the one that has the most votes of the understandable.
Let's see if Belmont wants to be on. We promise a
Oh,
Comcast free zone. Although we're going to get a ton of email about this, I would guess.
you think? I think.
I am often surprised at stuff like this where people kind of get it all out of their system early, but I still think we'll have people writing in.
Mm-hmm. I would like to personally hear from a Comcast retention specialist who we would certainly promise anonymity to.
Well, Adam 12 in the chat room is a former Comcast retention person, apparently.
What?
Well, I don't know if he was retention, but he said in the chat room during the show that he worked for Comcast, and they, in fact, did have a checkbox like what I was describing, where you had to check off your reason.
Yeah.
Jackie Hurd, do it. That would be awesome.
It's not you, it's me. It's not you, it's me. No, really, it's not you, it's me.
That over candlelight dinner. That's so good.
Can you get it done in 5 minutes, Jackie Hurd? Like, oh boy. All right.
Brushwood can't be on for another month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
We could ping Jury.
Yeah. Adam 12 was tech support.
Adam was tech support. Okay,
Yeah.
not retention.
All right. TBD. Tebede. Oh, I did not even nearly finish the show notes. Bugger.
Let's see if archive.org is working today.
Mm.
Oh, those of you curious about how I DDoSed myself yesterday.
Oh, yes.
So archive.org was having some maintenance issues, and it was taking a while. The site came back, but it was taking a while for upload to work. So I thought, silly Tom, oh, well, I have more bandwidth than I used to on dailytechnewsshow.com. I will put the MP3 up on our own site temporarily until archive.org comes back, and then I'll replace it, and it probably won't use that much bandwidth, which was stupid. That was me being dumb. Because, of course, the biggest bandwidth usage is at the very beginning of the posting. And so as soon as I put it up there, it maxed out the bandwidth. And I do have the ability to up bandwidth dynamically, but it was really just easier for me to go into FTP, delete the file, then get back into the interface and delete and unpublish the post. That brought the site back. And then I was scrambling around trying to find a way to host the file. So now I have an Amazon S3 instance, and some of you may have gotten the file through an Amazon S3 link yesterday, but archive is back. So
Yeah, that was exciting. It was in the most beautiful Shake Shack in the world when that finally got resolved.
oh yeah, I was sitting upstairs
man.
in my chair with my entire tech support team hammering away.
I know.
It was fine. I was never panicked because at no point did I not know what was going on. And at no point did I not have a path forward. It was just one of those situations where it's like, I just have to wait. I just have to wait for stuff to, I made my bed. Now I must lie in it.
Mm-hmm.
Metal Freak says just self-host the OGG file, but I don't think that would have solved it. Or I could do that. I just have to up the bandwidth way up before I publish the file.
Yeah. We live and learn.
Yep. Or get unlimited bandwidth like T2T2 says.
Right.
Which, I know you've used your server T2T2 for long enough that you probably know that that's not a problem, so maybe I should look into that. But a lot of times unlimited bandwidth isn't really unlimited bandwidth.
Yeah. Oh, also one show correction. The picture that I'm using for my
Oh, is that not TVZ Gone?
it's Chimera, and it's only
it's Chimera. Damn it.
It's okay.
You
We
even
say it on the
told me
poster.
that. I knew that. I knew.
But they're both such good quality that I'm probably going to use one of TVZ Guns as mine also. I'm just gonna there's some that are really good, and right next to Jury's Beard, so even higher in value. Let's see.
Is Patrick Beja available for tomorrow? Theater Monkey asks.
I always feel bad asking him on last minute notice because I feel like he'll turn down like tickets to the opera or the Lycée Français or some business.
That's up to him.
It's true. Wait,
If he thinks we're cooler than the opera,
it's true. I think we're cooler than the opera.
I do too.
I really like this Facebook purity thing.
T2T2 is like the server they're getting is new and it's dedicated. Yeah. I have a dedicated VPS, but it's not an actual dedicated server. Using a torrent would be cool for some people, but there's a lot of people who it wouldn't work for. There's always a torrent available of it through archive.org. It's one of the cool things about that. All right, I needed to tell Theater Monkey this in the chat room privately before I could say it out loud, because he deserves to know first. But new show launching on Tech Republic tomorrow, hosted by me,
Nice.
called 5 Apps.
What's it about?
It's about 5 apps that are drawn together by controversy and have to overcome obstacles.
And one of them tells a joke about a baby tomato.
Yep.
Catch up.
Catch up with me.
App Force 5.
It's App Force 5. No, it's basically a top 5, although it's not a top 5 because we don't count down like that. We count up.
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's very enterprisey, businessy. But Joe's been helping me shoot these since January, and we banked a bunch of them, so they're launching them tomorrow.
Nice.
And they're short, they're like a few minutes long.
All right, I have finished the show notes.
Yes, it is video.
No, I didn't finish the show notes. I left out something pretty important. Doodly do.
Okay, and I published. God, I'm so distracted. This is one of those days where everything was going ahead of schedule, and then that is almost like a curse when that happens.
And then your friend broke the internet.
No, I mean that I was all done with my notes on that early. It was
Yeah.
just one of the you know how when you're ahead of
And then your
schedule you start
producer
to
started
relax.
hectoring you.
Well, no, actually that was good. I encourage that, but I forgot that because I had more time. There's this weird psychological thing when you don't have enough time. You're really like, nope, gotta concentrate, gotta work. But when you're like, oh, I've got plenty of time, I'm running ahead, you just sort of relax and like, well, let me have this philosophical debate, and then you're like, oh crap,
Yep.
I didn't have as much time as I thought.
That is always a problem.
Yeah.
Are we excited for the All-Star game today?
You mean the A's versus the National League? Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, cool. I watched a little bit of the Home Run Derby.
We missed it. We were out and about at aforementioned Shake Shack, and so did not see it.
Oh, but it ran long.
Yeah. But David Ortiz wasn't in it.
No, Yoenis Cespedes.
Yeah. I know.
An Oakland A.
You know, I shouldn't say this on the internet or anything, but I really there's a part of me that really just wants the A's to win it so we can all stop talking about Moneyball
Yeah.
by
Just
like the
fulfill
following
that
April.
storyline.
Yeah. So and Billy Beane really deserves it. I mean, if any general manager, well, he's more than a general manager now, right?
Yeah, he's been a part owner
He's
since
got other
since
titles,
Lou
right.
Wolf came in. But he's essentially
he's
the general
still- yeah.
manager.
So let me just say that if any general manager deserves to win the Durand World Series, it's Billy Beane.
All right, I'm out of the post.
Okay. Oh boy.
And I think we're
Nice.
good.
Nice title. Good option.
Good everything. It all
Yeah.
came together. I feel like I didn't give Annie enough attention during the headlines because I was trying to put one
Read.
eye on that CNBC thing.
Yeah.
Um,
She did great. I like
yeah,
her.
she was fine. She was awesome. All right, goodbye, everybody. Sleep well.
Goodbye, internet
See you in the
world.
morning.